Well, hey, welcome to the weekly download. We're back. I'm super, super excited for this week because this week we're going to be giving just like the utmost clarity on one of the core ways that I work and that a lot of people work, especially if you are into synthesis and you're into sound design and you want crazy noises in your songs. We're going to show you just like pretty much the ultimate hack for making crazy noises a lot easier and using them a lot easier. I'd like to give some shouts out to Spiderhound for my sick Spiderhound shirt. What? Thanks, Spiderhound. What's up, everybody in the chat? We're really stoked to be back here. My day is going great. Thank you very much for asking, Trish. But yeah, what's up? Really stoked. So Aaron and I have been working on a new track. He's come here for a dojo visit to do a collab visit. He booked a collab visit, and it's gone really well. He's going to get my nomination, I think, for the purple belt this month because he just crushed the prep so hard. He crushed the prep so hard that he made it really easy to work. And we got a great track because he did so much digging and so much sample sourcing, and because he made so many excellent mud pies. There's lots of really good mud pies, and they just made it a lot easier to deal with. So what is a mud pie, right? You may have heard me use this term. It's I only started calling them mud pies this year, but it's kind of started to catch on with a lot of people. Mr. Bill has adopted the mud pies term now, but a lot of people, like you'll hear people come across this technique because it's been around for a really long time. But it's a great way to work, and it's really overlooked with people who are used to using soft synths. Okay, it's a big weakness for people who are in the box DAW-based producers. Okay, but this technique has been around in the hardware world for a long time, and bands will do this too. But basically, what a mud pie is a long recording where you're not really trying to make a recording where you're like playing a part perfectly. You know, like sometimes when you're like, let's say you're recording the chorus for a song with guitars, right? You would probably loop the chorus and just have your guitarist play the exact same fucking riff until they get it perfect, right? This is not that, okay? This is the opposite of that. Making a mud pie is where you're trying to make a long recording that has a ton of variety in the recording, okay? It's got to have a lot of chaos and a lot of stuff that's going to sound a little bit ugly.
Overtones and like screeches. And
all kinds of stuff. It's going to have weird, awkward, terrible parts of the recording because the goal of this recording is to generate the maximum amount of sonic chaos and variety as possible, okay? And then when you have these long, 1 minute to 5 minute long recordings that just have a lot of oh wait, here I gotta kill Dropbox. Just a second. I think it's syncing. Yeah, it's syncing. I just killed it. Don't worry. But yeah, so basically, you might sometimes there's several different kind of subtypes of mud pies that we're gonna get into. But the essence of a mud pie is that you're not really planning on using the whole recording at all. You're planning on using tiny pieces of this recording and either editing it with audio editing in the arrange view or perhaps programming some sampler instruments with it, both of which are really simple to do. And a mud pie is kind of like a 128, right? That's where you have a sampler with 128 samples of a given type. So you need a kick in your kick drum spot in your drum kit. So if you have a 128 with kicks, you can scroll through a bunch of different kicks and find the kick that you want, right? A mud pie is kind of a similar technique, but it's used for sounds where you want there to be more to the sound design. You want some like smearing effects or like, some kind of like stretching or like crazy distortion or pitch wild pitch bending or glitchiness, or, something that just makes you go like, whoa, that sound's been really fucked with. When you want that sound, right? It's really annoying and really time consuming to try and make that kind of a sound when you just have a MIDI part and you're putting effects on it and automating the effects, and then you got to turn them off to wet to dry when you're not using them, and then automate the wet dry over, so you just have a moment where it's like this, and then once your moment's created, then you got to try and balance all these parameters against each other to get like it's just like it sucks doing that. It takes so long, and it's just like it doesn't sound very musical. It just sounds like editing, and then you're sitting there listening to this little edit like again and again and again, and it's not very musical. It's not inspiring. It's not fun, right? Yeah. So what a lot of producers like to do is that they'll just load up a synth or maybe it's a sound with tons and tons and tons of effects plugins on it, where they're just piling the effects on, adding stuff, deleting stuff, adding modulation, they don't care. They're just going absolutely wild, using your whole processor on like one sound, and then just recording the output. And then
like 5 minutes. And then
for about 5 minutes. Yeah. Try not to go, I normally like to keep my Mudpies about 2 minutes.
Mine was so long.
Yeah, because long Mudpies, when you're using them later, there's a lot of RAM use, as you load the samples in. And let's say you have a drum rack with 10 Mudpies in it.
Sampler and
it's using a lot of RAM, so you're going to want to freeze and flatten that drum rack later. So I would say keep them around 2 minutes or less, but you can always edit them later. Sometimes, maybe if it's late at night and you're really stoned, you might make some long Mudpies.
I was making 15-minute long Mudpies.
It happens. It happens. Yeah, so sometimes in that case I'll edit them down a bit, and create a greatest hits of your Mudpie, and then make a shorter one. But you adapt the technique, see how you like it, see what works for you, see what works for your set of resources. But this is a really good technique if you're using machine or an MPC or hardware synths or whatever. Because the thing is, this technique is really popular with hardware musicians, because when you're using a piece of hardware, a lot of the time things aren't kind of connecting that reliably. You can set it up so that Ableton will send bank changes to your synths and stuff, but people don't really do that much. At least the people that I know, where I've gone over to their house and they're a synth person, they like synths. They're not when I load up Ableton, I'm not sending program changes to all my synths and stuff. I just kind of load a patch, jam, record it, and move on. Just record it and move on, right? So a lot of people who use hardware synths just kind of do some variation of this technique. Some people call it generating material. Yeah, or
I almost never do any MIDI for any of the hardware. I always do audio, and then you're saying, chop up your best stuff. Yeah, and then
or there's another subtype of Mudpies that I like to call a loop menu. And that's where it's basically preset shredding, which is a technique that if you're in the dojo, you can check out in the EDM cookbook. There's a recipe that's very specifically about this loop menu technique, also known as preset shredding to some people, where basically you have a MIDI loop, and then that loop is going to synth, and you're just changing all the presets, putting effects on them, changing all the presets, right? So you're generating a lot of variety. And that preset shredding technique, you will often do that when you're making Mudpies. You might have a bass sound and then just be cycling through distortion presets, to do it.
Guitar rig. Every time I watch you use guitar rig effects and shit on some of the sounds, that's a really easy way to do it.
Yeah, we'll get through that too, and just load a bunch of presets. So you can do preset shredding while you make a Mudpie. So that's why I think I'm kind of shifting towards using this loop menu term, right? And the reason why I call it a loop menu is because you have one loop that's recorded, and then you have a ton of different variations on that loop that you've either generated by recording it looping while you're doing sound design, or by doing something more akin to a Mudpie where you're just piling on the plugins and trying to make it really chaotic, right? Depends on how much chaos you particularly, crave at that moment, right? So, but the idea with a loop menu is that you have a repetitive part that is all lined up to the bars, and then you can do this technique that's called slip editing, where you basically have a sample where it's either in the arrange view or it's a MIDI note coming into a sampler where you know that that's going to be in that spot in the arrangement, and then you move the playhead within the sample to select where in the sample plays during that piece of time in the song, right? So that technique's called slip editing. And I'm gonna show you how to make two different kinds of Mudpies. I'll show you the classic Mudpie, which is just like, when you load up a synth and just try and get a whole bunch of wild and wacky noises out of it. And then from there, I'll show you an effects-based Mudpie, which is where you take either a loop or a sample that you've made, and you pile on the effects and make it all glitchy, so that could be like a glitch Mudpie or an effect Mudpie. And then I'll show you how to take a loop. We'll load a loop in a synth. We'll do some preset shredding to generate a loop menu, and then we'll do glitch Mudpie on the loop menu. So that's where we're going. All right. So does anyone have any questions about the theory behind Mudpies, what a Mudpie is, subtypes of Mudpies, etc.? Because these terms, I'm kind of like Mudpie and loop menu, I've just made these terms up this year, but I think they really, like, the loop menu implies slip editing, and Mudpie, I think, implies the sound design process of just making as much chaos as possible. Yeah. So a Mudpie, the question is, what's a Mudpie? Okay, so I'll explain it again. All right, so a Mudpie, at least when I was a child, was when you would go in and you'd take a bunch of dirt and you'd make a pie and you'd be like, this is food. And it was really messy. Usually you got covered in dirt. You would eat dirt when you made them, and they were just like playful pies of mud, right? So people would call those mud pies. I think they still do. I don't know. Maybe it was just a Canadian thing, but
at first I thought it was like a cow. I was thinking of cow pie, like a coucher. Yeah,
I don't know. So it's just like, it's a pie made of mud, basically is what it is. So then basically this technique is where you're just trying to make a bunch of crazy fucking sound to sample. That's like usually around a 2-minute long recording. I find the most practical length for them is about 2 minutes, sometimes a bit more, especially if it's late at night, but a 2-minute long recording of lots of sonic possibilities. Generally speaking, the more chaotic, the better. And then you would take that and you would then resample it later. Okay, so this can be seen in the synth sampling recipe and the preset shredding, aka the loop voicing recipe, which are in the EDM cookbook in the dojo. If you want more information on that in the dojo, there's also another weekly download called Advanced Audio Editing with Drum Racks. That one's great. That is about drum racks and Mudpies, but a lot of people have been asking for a weekly download just about Mudpies because I think it warrants it. It's a really fundamental technique. So this one is just about Mudpies. And okay, so then Nathan asks, is the idea to pile on the effects so that you can save CPU when you have made the audio? Yeah, the idea is to basically use tons of effects that are like your fanciest effects that would maybe overwhelm your CPU if you were using them with such wild abandon throughout the rest of your project. So yeah, it saves CPU, but it also is more practical. Like even if it didn't save CPU, even if I had an unlimited CPU, I would still totally do this Mudpie technique. Okay, because it's useful. It's the best way to work.
Happy little accidents.
Yeah, happy accidents.
It's what comes. You'll like sounds you don't even think are musical at any point in anything. Like you'll be making them and you're just like, how would I make a fucking song with this? And then literally like you start to chop them up into these little like half a bar or 1 bar loops, and then you can start throwing them on a drum rack, and just watching him do timer beats with Mudpies is like crazy.
Yeah, watch some of my timer beats in the EDM cookbook. I'm up to like 83 timer beats now this year. Fucking banging them out. Okay, so I'm going to screen share. And let's go to screen sharing, and then I'm going to screen share. Yeah, I'll eject your USB now as well. Yeah, oh man, do we have a track on the go. Ooh. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, man, these collab visits, they work out well, man. Yeah, I'm just hitting the eject there, and then I got to change my sound card in Ableton to L weekly download sound card, which is the Zoom audio device. Yeah, this track is a heater. Yeah, here I'll play you some of it just real quick. For nothing no more, sitting on the floor, wondering why. For nothing no more, you left. For nothing no more. Woo! All right. Anyway, yeah, you should be clear to pull your USB now.
Pull anything else with it.
Oh no, you broke everything. All right, so here we're making a new project here, and I'm gonna do it with, like, I often use my hardware synths because I love them, but they're not viewable from your screen. So I'm just gonna do a soft synth Mudpie here. Okay, so we're going to use Serum. Serum is a great synth. A lot of you I know will have it. For those of you that do not perhaps own any soft synths, I would say Serum would be a great place to start. You can rent it on Splice. They have a rent-to-own program. It's like $20 to start, I think. So it's really not that expensive. Okay, so now one concern that I just want to start off with when we're making the MIDI here is you got to keep in mind, if you're sampling this, if you play, like, sometimes you want to have a ton of different notes, right? But a lot of the time it's nice to just have one note that's like your lowest note that you're going to realistically use, right? And I often will sample it at F, and then I keep everything kind of the same note. Okay, so I'm gonna make a nice low F here. I'm gonna make it, I guess, 4 bars long and hit that legato button. So now we have maybe one lower. Yeah, see, that's, we're gonna go, this low C. Yeah, let's do this. And then everything will stay tuned later. So I'll do this low C, but you want to do something that's like as low as you're going to use, right? And then if you keep it that same note, then when you're sampling it later, pitching things up is not too bad, you know, because you're making the audio compressed. It typically will create less artifacts. Whereas if you're pitching something that's really high pitched and you try and make it into a bass, a lot of the time it sounds shitty, and you can hear the audio quality start to come apart from shifting it down as opposed to up. So I'm going to sample this nice low note, and I'm just going to keep this low note playing. I might do some pitch bends. I might do some LFOs and stuff, but I'm going to keep it kind of centrally around this low C pitch. Okay, so now I'm going to start by calling this hashtag Mudpie. The hashtag means that it will retain the track number in Ableton. I'm not sure if it's like that in other DAWs. I'm also going to go save as and put this in the weekly download so that if it crashes, which it very likely may, if it crashes, that we'll have a backup. One of the great things about Mudpies is even if it crashes, you're going to still have your audio that you've recorded. So it also protects you against crashing. So yeah, very good, great technique for a number of reasons. Okay, so now I'm going to start this just with this saw wave. And actually, maybe I'll make it shorter. Then I'll make it a bar. I can always make it longer later. I'll make it a bar just because I might want to do some envelope-y stuff to it.
Having a single trusted source when you're learning music production is ideal, but schools cost tens of thousands. People often leave without finishing tracks. The weekly download is that single trusted source. I challenge anyone to try the arrangement exercise or timer beats without getting over their writer's block. Wednesday nights at 7.
Okay, so now I've got this Mudpie set up, and I'm just going to hit record here, and I'm going to start grabbing knobs. And actually, you know what I'll do? I'll do this, because maybe I want some of that automation to record later. That could be cool too. Okay, so just make that a bar long though for now. Okay, so now I'm just going to start recording and mess this sound up a lot and have a bit of fun. And then we're going to take this synth Mudpie that's just going to be synth tones, and we're going to mess it up with some glitch effects too. Oh wait, actually let's do one. I never work at 120, so I'll do 140. Forgot to set my input. Whoops. Gotta go input from Serum. Oh, that was dumb. All right, here we go. So you get the picture. It starts off all fairly innocent, and then usually by the time you get about halfway through, it gets pretty crazy. So then often you'll notice that there's some pretty wild volume fluctuations going on here. Some people like to compress them and edit them a little bit when they're going from this stage to the next, but it really depends on your style. But yeah, I think it's a lot of stuff just happened. So let's open it up to questions. See if anybody has any questions. I'm trying to figure out. I think I have to stop screen sharing to get the chat out. Okay, cool. So does anyone have any questions about any of that serum stuff that just happened? Because basically, like, what I did was I started by getting an oscillator just at the right pitch. And then I went and loaded a bunch of different effects, and then started changing some oscillator and filter parameters on the synth and routing LFOs to control many different oscillator and synth parameters, right? And then from there, I went into the modulation matrix inside the synth, where all of the LFOs that are controlling all of the effects and everything are happening. And I just started wildly playing with their values. I wasn't even thinking like, oh, I know that one's connected to that, so I should adjust it by this much. I was literally just grabbing shit and cramming the values like wherever to make it as chaotic as possible, right? So there's a lot of LFO to the pitch. About halfway through, I started doing that a lot. There's a lot of LFO to filter parameters, effect parameters, but you can do that in pretty much any synth. And I'll show you a little bit about how to do that sort of thing with effects that are not inside of Serum. The reason why I use Serum was because it's a really, A, a lot of you have Serum, and B, Serum is, it's really, there's a lot of effects in there that you can just get at with the LFOs. So they're good. I would suggest tweaking pretty much everything but pitch, filter, wavetable, LFO speed. I had one LFO modulating the LFO to change the speed up a lot. But yeah, pretty much just tons of stuff, and then, good times. What was my logic between creating that long MIDI car of clip bar notes if I just looped the one bar anyways? I was debating maybe doing another one where I record all of the automation, because all of that automation can be recorded into Ableton if you like, but I didn't want to complicate the process for you, so I just thought better of it and then looped the first bar. How often do you make custom wavetables from clips of Mudpies by uploading a sample to the wavetable? I would say never. And what settings do you use? There's just Google how to make wavetables. There's a bunch of different tutorials. I would say AU5's Serum tutorials are my favorite. So if you're watching Serum tutorials, check out AU5. And then, I was recording that the whole time. So I'll go back to screen sharing. So now I'm going to show you some of the stuff that can be done with cutting up a Mudpie. And I guess we'll make a preset shred with the Mudpie here. I'll make a loop menu with it. So let's take this Mudpie now, and then I'm going to just pop it into a simpler. And this is amazing. Check this out. If you just go to slice and you go to a slice by regions, and then you crank it up to like 64 regions, which is the maximum, I believe. Here, I'll turn the camera down. So now you can see, basically, as I crank this up and down, you can see it populating the slices onto my push. How sick is that? Super easy. But you can do that in a lot of different samplers or machine or whatever. And now, if I put this over on gate, right? Now, here, I'll mute that, take that. Now, so you can see how the volume thing is a bit of a problem now. You kind of want them all to be the same volume when you're chopping them up. So what a lot of people like to do is get everybody's favorite compressor, OTT, and crank it. And then some people who are wild will even do triple OTT like maniacs. It's going to have no variation in volume left at all, or variation in frequencies. It's loud and crazy the whole time now. So now I'm going to freeze and flatten. Actually, here, let's put the mud pie over here. And I'll freeze and flatten. There we go. It's freezing. And I'm going to flatten it. And then at that point, you'll see that the chops come out a little nicer sounding. Freezing and flattening. Hey. All right. Flatten that. Okay. And now we have a mud pie that has been OTT'd, so it's going to be much more consistent. Not completely squashed, but much more consistent. Now if I bring that in there, and I go to slice bar region, put it on gate mode, crank the regions up, look at it going on the push. Ooh, pretty cool. Now, and you can zoom in on the simpler. The simpler has this nice ability to pop things up. So let's say I like that one, but I wish it was just over a little. I could just drag it over. That one just kind of sucks. Yeah, so now let's make a riff. I'm going to have to not use my hands. Normally I would use my hands for this, but the latency is such that it's not really going to work. Oh yeah, let's also put the volume up to there. And then I'm going to put a quick limiter on here so that it does not get too crazy. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to make a quick little and you can duplicate it. That one's cool, but maybe they can get better root notes. Really easy to make it. So you can make another pattern that's like same rhythm, but you can make these two alternate. So I'll do that by just programming some quick follow actions, and then we're gonna do some shredding. So every 4 bars, it's gonna change to the next one. So then these will trade off. Right, killer refs. All right, so here, there's some questions asked here. God, I really wish it was easier for me to get at the chat from here. Okay, there we go. Okay, so where we are. For the new live grade, has waiting music for when it's freezing. No, it does not. Dylan, when do you do Mudpies? Does keeping track of key of the original matter? Kind of. You can always check after by using like a tuner or by using the spectrum. And then you mouse over the peaks of the fundamental in the spectrum, and it'll tell you what note it is. But yeah, so if it's recorded as C, it's the same one. And then, yeah, so I'm on session view right now, but I've just made this quick little looping pattern here, right? So now I'm going to show you how to make an effect-based kind of glitchy Mudpie. So I'm going to tell this channel to record from this, and I'm going to basically just preset shred with a bunch of effects and make a further level of Mudpie. Okay, here we go down the rabbit hole. Okay, so anyway, you get the picture there. Now we have, what is that? It's like a couple minutes, like crazy noises. So now these ones have been, this is like a Mudpie where I basically made a loop menu where this is like a ton of different versions of this loop. So then let's say I got a beat here. Let's see, beat 140. What do I have for 140? Work. Okay, let's do that. Let's get a drum bus on it. Get it nice and loud. Okay, now I'm gonna go take a OTT again. Yeah, this kind of craziness, you really should just be, making things really loud if that's what you're after. So I'm putting OTT on everything. I don't give a fuck right now. All right, so now I'm gonna put another limiter. Might as well do Fab Filter Pro L. Let's do the output at a nice little -12 there, so that it's 6 below our kick and snare, which are at -6. That's close enough. Yes, now if I were to, this beat doesn't really have a lot of, it's not that great a beat. It sounds cool, but it's designed to have a louder kick and snare under it. But let's say this was our hypothetical beat, right? Then you could make a composition by doing something like this. Actually, here, I'll just go. I'll get some snares in here. We're gonna make sure I'm not giving away anyone else's snares, or is my ill.gates snares. There we go. Great. That one's fine. Pop this to group. Put the drum bus on them. Close enough, it's gonna have to do. Okay, so now let's make a composition with our Mudpie. It's our loop recipe here. Okay, so now check it out. I'll show you this is the slip editing. So now I want to change just this sound. So it's now we've got, like I say, boom, freak, and then whatever that is. So now I'm going to make a short loop here. That is a 1-bar loop. And as long as you have a 1-bar loop, you can literally, watch this is fucking magic. You can drag the position and you get the same note in the sequence, just with a different set of parameters. Okay, so I'm gonna go 1, 2, or here, 1, 2. So undo. Right, and that works anywhere. Like if let's say I want a different part of the sequence, I'll go over to here. Let's say I want so I want that part. Then if I drag the bar number, I get that part every time. It's such a good technique. See? It gets you the same part of the bar every time when you move it around. So let's say I want a different one of these. The loop's on. Loop's going to be 1 bar long, and then so useful. So make that a bar and then move the loop. I like that one. Let's take this one. Let's do the loop menu, make it into 1 bar. And then you can make your patterns. Now let's say I want a different one here. Let's find one that's more of like a grindy kind of thing. Let's go, oops, undo that. Let's go later, way later. Let's see. With that, now I'll do. It's a little crazy. And you can really get a nice sequence. That this, if you were automating this stuff, forget about it. It takes so long. Let's see what else we got that's like this. And you can, like, let's say I want to halftime this. And let's do play forward in stop mode, put it on beats, transient 16ths. And disgusting, and it already sounds like a song, right? So that's Mudpies. That's how you make Mudpies. That's some of the typical ways you'd use them. There's another weekly download that's all about Mudpies and drum racks, because I find myself often using drum racks to slip edit, but I know a lot of you out there are big fans of audio editing, and I didn't want you to think that Mudpies are only a drum rack thing. But if you want more on the drum rack use of Mudpies, definitely go check out definitely go check out the weekly download called Advanced Audio Editing with Drum Racks. And that is in here. That's a really good one. So let's see. Advanced. Oops. Spelt like a silly person. Advanced Editing with Drum Pads. So weekly download number 103. That is the one that is about using them inside of drum racks. Also, be sure to check out the drum rack workshop if you're in the dojo. I've told you, I get people again and again and again, the drum rack workshop is the shit. Definitely check out the drum rack workshop. That is drum rack workshop. That is, what is that? Weekly download number 4. It's not important. It was number 4, so weekly download 104, or number 4 is the drum rack workshop. There's also, if you want some mud pies, like maybe you don't want to make your own mud pies, although I can't imagine why. You saw how easy and fun it is to make mud pies. It works every time. But the modular sounds in weekly download number, what weekly download it's at? Is weekly download 7 has some modular sounds. So you can see this has been like a major part of what I teach for a long time. It's just never got its own weekly download. But yeah, so the modular sounds are in there, and a lot of my sound packs you'll see have modular sounds. Also, if you are in the member vault, if you own the studio template, or if you are a full-fledged dojo member, the 2019 studio template has some mud pies in it. The 2018 sample library has a good deal of mud pies in it. So be on the lookout for them. They're in my sample packs everywhere. I should probably make a mud pies folder that's top level in there. But anyway, there's mud pies to be found in the dojo, but the technique is best used when you do it yourself. So check out those ones. There's also, I do some in the neuro-bass one. There's actually a couple neuro bass. And neuro basses are just like heavily affected ones. Yeah, weekly download 69 is all about making neuro basses. So check out weekly download number 69 too. But yeah, there's a lot in there. And if you check out sound design drums at 128, if you scroll through this in the weekly download, there's tons of stuff. I probably do some of it in making sounds out of anything. Yeah, so there's a lot of those. Or the crash course in audio editing, I'd probably do a little bit of mod pie making. Granular synthesis is a fun one. But yeah, so just, go in there, check them out. Definitely check out the advanced audio editing with drum racks is number 103. Definitely check out number 7 because it has a bunch of mud pies and you can watch me making a bunch of hardware mud pies. Okay, so let's check out some questions. Can you show how to loop and scroll again quickly? Yeah, sure. So all you got to do is take a chop. So I'll do it with this drum loop. I'll bring it up. So here's this drum loop. Let's say that this drum loop had a bunch of different snares in it, and I'm not sure which snare I want, right? So what I'll do is I'll highlight just the snare like this, and then I'll make a 1-bar loop, 1.00100. And now when I take the position of this loop and I move it, you can see that I still have the same length of time in the loop here, but it always lands on the snare. Anytime I move the bar number in that number field, it always lands on the snare. Also, because the way Ableton snapping operates, you can just grab the loop and move it like that. But as long as you have a nice little 1-bar loop here, and you can also just select, like you could select a 1-bar loop like that. If you went like snare to snare and went loop like that, then you can move this around and do it. But I find just typing 1.0.0 is the easiest. And then as long as you can move this anywhere you want, and you will always land on the same spot every bar. It's called slip editing. Okay, cool. All right, cool. So any questions? Any questions about any of this? Okay. There's a question about clipping. Yeah, you know, sometimes you wreck parts of the Mudpie from clipping it, whatever. There'll be cool parts too. Just don't blow it out too hard. But, you know, for this particular sound design style I'm looking for, which is just like really sonically aggressive, like glitch sounds, putting tons of OTT on it works. But if you're concerned about that, don't put OTT and don't put limiters. And, you know, you'll just clip it in some spots and whatever. It's not really a big deal. But yeah, limiting it too hard, compressing it too hard can make things sound all boxy and shitty. But, you know, a lot of that shit, it's like, you know, when you look at these videos about mixing, they're going to be like, don't do this, don't do that. And you got to keep in mind, they're talking about mixing. Okay. When it comes to mixing, yeah, be really careful about compression. When it comes to mixing, be really careful about your EQing, right? But when it comes to sound design, anything fucking goes. Okay. And a lot of the time, using plugins in ways they are not designed to be used and like really just like no fucks given, just destroying your sound is what it takes to make it sound cool. Okay. So don't. Like, making Mudpies is not the time to be following the fucking rules. That is the last time to be following the rules. Forget everything you've learned about music production and just go crazy on everything. Okay, that's the point of a Mudpie. Break all the goddamn rules. Make the craziest sounds you can. Because if you are timid, it defeats the entire purpose of making Mudpies. Okay, so very important to recommend. This is like a 128 on steroids, crack, and opium. Yeah, that's quite the comment like that, Nick. But yeah, I guess it kind of is. It kind of is. Just had a religious experience, dude. Wow, you got okay. This one was a hit. All right, cool. I'm glad
Virgin Mary, man.
I'm glad you like it. Cool. Could you go over you use this simpler again to make each little section a pad on your controller? Check that out in Weekly Download 104. There's a whole weekly download about that, Jesse, because it's already gone a long time. And if I start making drum racks, I'll go crazy and we'll be here doing sound design all day. Did I start the Mudpie at C0? Yeah, I did. That was realistically lower than I was ever going to play on the keyboard. Like, that's probably the lowest note. I normally don't go lower than like F or E. Cthulhu is in D. Sometimes I go to D if I like really mean it. But I did that low C because it's just lower than I'll ever go. And when you sample C, it's nice because then when you put it in the sampler, like let's say you're using scales mode on the push or you're playing on the piano, all the notes stay the same because you sample the C. The tuning doesn't deviate. So C's are good for sampling. Some other people like to sample in F, but then you got to be like correcting all the time for the deviation of F to C. Do you do this technique for melodies instead of just looping, or is it just usually single notes? You can, but then as soon as you make a loop where it's more than one note, you're now in the loop voicing recipe and you're no longer just like making Mudpies. Mudpies are kind of just one note usually. Yeah, all the Mudpies are going to essentially be the same note and change the pitch. Yeah, usually. But, you know, like I said, break all the rules. Break all the rules all the time. I just want to show you the power of the technique. You can adapt it any way you want. Break all the rules. What was the thing about the hashtag naming you mentioned at the beginning? It's not so much hashtags. It's just the Mudpies and loop menus. That's kind of like... Those are new terms for old techniques. I feel they explain the techniques better than the terms I've heard other people using. So I just got fed up and just started making my own term. I don't normally make my own term unless I have to, but I feel like loop menus, Mudpies and loop menus, I think it really cuts to the core of what those techniques do and how they fit into the workflow. So I'm just like, I'm moving forward with it. Mr. Bill's moving forward with it. Like a bunch of, hopefully other educators will adopt it, but you heard it here first. They're called Mudpies now and they're called loop menus now. Do you have any favorite Mudpie effects for future Mudpies? I mean, Guitar Rig is great because it has anything that has multiple effects together. Like you could swap Ableton racks, you could swap Guitar Rig presets. Serum is great because it's so easy to automate things. Yeah, Echo's great. The Sound Toys stuff is really good for making Mudpies. Yeah, and then check out like Fracture and all those. Just look up free glitch plugins on KVR VST and get those. Yeah, Max for Live is great for making Mudpies. Yes, make illegal Mudpies. Yes, definitely. Illegal samples too. If you Mudpie an illegal sample, it's not going to be recognizable anymore. And then, hey, no one cares if it's a legal sample anymore. Cool. Yeah. Manipulator, very big on Mudpies. The Max for Live LFO is very big on Mudpies. But check out the other one on Mudpies that's about Mudpies and drum racks, because that one, 104, I go into a bit more detail on some other Mudpie making techniques. Isotope Trash. Yeah, distortion plugins are very good for Mudpies. Okay, cool. Any other Mudpie related questions from anyone? I'm here for you. I'm here. I'm ready to answer your questions. Oh, Lexi says, do you save and use effect racks that you've used for past Mudpies? I'm usually after something kind of different with each Mudpie. So I like to do them like really chaotically. I find the more chaotically you can approach it, the better. So I don't typically save Mudpie presets, but I might start. I don't know. I don't think I have anything against saving Mudpie resets. Print the sub in. Yeah, I often print the sub in, because the sub, especially when you're using saturation and stuff, the sub sometimes will make the saturators sound richer. Sometimes too, I'll Mudpie everything but the sub, and I'll have the sub stay like in a rack where I'll split off the top frequencies, and then the sub stays unmolested so that it's like nice and clean. And then, do you save them in your library or treat them as song specific? I actually, here, I'll show you. I have a whole folder of Mudpies. I'll go back to sharing. I have a whole folder of Mudpies. It's pretty fun. So in this folder, if I go into my user library and I go into my clips, here's a bunch of my faves. Some modular sound. This one's just clipping the shit so hard. Like like look at this waveform. You can't even see the waveform. It's clipped so hard. There's more modular and log action. We make good techno. Oh, pro tip, if you want to be able to skip around in the samples, go to auto warp and turn your auto warping on. Like that. Now watch. Oh, shit. Excuse me. Yeah, there's lots of these. But yeah, make lots of Mudpies. Have fun. Make lots of Mudpies. Put them in your music. Make your shit more chaotic. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. And yeah, then as long as you sequence it with intention, it'll come across as intentional. Do you ever do MIDI recording for Mudpies? Yeah, sometimes I'll make MIDI Mudpies where I'll use like a random note generator. There's an old school technique called a Turing machine, Turing machine. I think it might have been invented by Alan Turing. I'm not sure. He was pretty cool. But the Turing machine basically generates a random sequence of notes, and then you can sample that sequence by usually turning a knob on the synthesizer unit, and it will like record a looping sequence of pitch. So some people will do that. Flume, for example, basically shared that a lot of the time when he comes up with his melodies, he'll have like a random MIDI note generator and just leave the random going for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then go in and edit the best pieces of MIDI, which is essentially like a MIDI Mudpie. Damien asked, do you do these as evening sessions? Usually, yeah. And then sometimes start tracks with them. Yeah, I start tracks with them all the time. Watch a lot of my recent timer beats, and I'll make a Mudpie the night before and then wake up the next day and make a beat with it.
I totally was making a Mudpie the other day, and I wrote that sidetracked song. Totally, like, I mean, I was like making the Mudpie and just fucking around, and just like everything hit me from that sound, like just the like wobbly sounds I got. And just I wrote a song from it. I couldn't put it down. I woke up the next day and just like got on it. I like figured out the lyrics and the vocals and everything. Hopped on the microphone. I mean, it wrote itself from a Mudpie. Like, so yeah.
There you have it.
Yeah.
There you have it. All right, cool. Any other questions before we wrap it up here? Oh yeah. Also, I think just a second. I'm gonna go over to Slack here, but I think I'm through. Basically, next month I'm through all the dojo visits that are booked. So there are more dojo visit spots available. So I'm just gonna get the link for that. There are more dojo visit spots. So if you want to come and produce, I mean was it worth it or what?
Dude, worth every fucking, like, every little bit of energy and sand, everything. I would highly recommend it. I mean, you're gonna not sleep probably, but
Yeah, you don't come here to sleep, okay?
yeah, you definitely, if you're coming here to do anything but fucking work on tunes for like 14 hours a day, then don't come here.
Okay, cool. So yeah, there it is. It's join.producerdojo.com/dojo-visit. But there are spots available. He chose the collab. So the collab visits, like the two most popular ones are the collab visit, which is like 3, sometimes 4 days, and the training week, which is 5 days. Okay, those are the two most popular options. And the collab one, you want to bring lots of mud pies, lots of faces, lots of purple cows.
Wow.
We'll get a way better track out of it because there's been a couple where people have come and they have not been prepared at all and have basically been like, hey, let's make a track. These are some artists that I like. And it's basically turns into me like copying their musical influences, and it's not fun for me and I'm not into it. So if you want to do that, don't book a visit because I don't want to do that. Okay.
Bring your own.
So yeah, and then it's this is not a free of charge thing. This takes a lot of my time. I'm dedicating like many days of my time to you specifically one-on-ones. This is not included in the 808 membership. If you want to stop by and say hi though, if you're in LA, that's no problem. A lot of I mean, you've seen there's been like tons of dojo members just come in and out of the dojo. That's fine. But if we're doing a collab and that you're going to get your name on it, and I mean a couple of the collabs have been like, I just shot a music video for one of the collabs with Spiderhound, and then that one's getting on the World of Dance thing. We just shot a music video for it, and it's going to be on the World of Dance. And then my collab with Galactic Groove, Lauren wants it for Amorphous, and he wants the Spiderhound one for Amorphous. So, you can get like, if the tracks come out sick, I'm going to put them out.
I got to
They
meet
might not
KJ.
even. Yeah, we did a collab with KJ. KJ was a surprise guest.
Like, huge, man. Like, I'm from Washington and we fucking love KJ. Not that we don't love Dylan, but it's like he's Seattle.
Yeah, he's like
that was crazy.
he's a legend up there.
Dude.
So yeah, it's definitely like, it's pretty cool. So the collab visit is cool, and then the training week is cool. Either way, I can load up your hard drive and it'll rock. But yeah, so there's some new spots open, and so far 100% satisfaction rate with everyone who's attended. I think it's definitely worth it. I would have loved to do it when I was coming up. So yeah, so there's spots. The pricing is in the link, join.producerdojo.com/dojo-visit. I think it's worth way more than what I'm charging. But
way.
that's under promise, over deliver. That's how you do it.
Jump on it. I highly recommend it. Anybody that's got the money, fucking sell shit, whatever, like jump on it. I used my school loan money from college. I got the loan check and
all right, so no regrets. All right, cool. So lots of love, everybody. Big shouts out to Dave and Spiderhound and Matter and Trap Jesus and all the senseis, everyone involved in the dojo. Jesse Zodiac Iller has been really stepping up a lot lately. What up, Shaky? What up, Lexi? Nick, Nat, everybody, Jesse, Robin. Thank you all for watching. Trisha, love you. Yeah, we are out. That's the weekly download for this week. Peace.